Hi, I'm Scott Hettrick, a former longtime editor and reporter at Daily Variety and The Hollywood Reporter. Here today with Jerry Mathers. We're here at the Van Nuys, 94th Aero Squadron, is that it? Restaurant?
Yep.
Yeah.
And the airport is right, Van Nuys Airport is right next to us. So you may hear a jet go by or a plane land every once in a while.
And that's what our story's about in this episode of Still the Beaver.
Well, I'm just now starting to watch the opening sequence, and it always started with Barbara Billingsley. And then it'll move on to Tony Dow. And Jerry Mathers is, instead of as, Still the Beaver. But it was fun going back and seeing Barbara, and in this show I had kids of my own. It was a really fun show to do because I had worked on it as a child and I didn't realize how easily I had it, because children can only work by state law so many hours a week. But when you're an adult, that's not true. So what they do is they go and they shoot all the kids long shots, two shots, and close-ups. Then they might move to another set. And if the adults are in the scene, at the end of the day, 5 or 6 o'clock, when the kids go home, they have to move all the lights, all the camera, all the people, and do your close-ups. And so you might be there till 9 or 10 at night. So it's a lot harder on the adult actor. So that wasn't quite as much fun, but I realized how hard it had been on Barbara and Hugh. I didn't really appreciate what Barbara and Hugh and all the other adult actors were doing until I became one. Oh, Frank Bank just came up. Eric Osmond, I thought that was really an interesting touch that we were able to do. Of course, Ken Osmond, who played Eddie Haskell, is get Ken Osmond's real children. He had 2 boys that actually played him, and I guess they'd watched it forever, or maybe it's just an Osmond trait, but they could just copy their father so well.
Yeah, he had that Haskell cackle down, didn't he?
He certainly did. He'd probably heard it all his life, so I think...
Yeah. Was that something that Ken came up with for the original Leave It to Beaver on his own, or how did that ever come about? Do you remember?
I think it was just the way that he could laugh. That was something that, was obviously very pushed, but it was good that it was pushed because that's the way he did it. And he was actually an LAPD officer. We were very, very lucky to get him back, but it was kind of unlucky for him because he was shot in the line of duty. He was a motorcycle cop, and luckily Ken had a flak vest on, but the guy shot him 3 times. He has pretty much little holes in his chest that you can stick your little finger in, where the bullet stopped by the vest, but it didn't go through him. But he's just a police hero and a really wonderful fellow.
The editorial section. Where's the front page?
I got it, Dad.
What do you have to say about your son actors on the show?
Well, they were really nice people. I mean, they had huge auditions. They auditioned in Los Angeles, New York, and a couple of other places, and they were the very best that they could find. And they were very, very nice kids, and they're a pleasure to work with.
Round the world cruise that leaves on Tuesday. Too bad. I got a dental appointment.
And you had this actor, John Snee, was in the movie, the TV movie, and then he carried over.
Right.
But then you got Kip Marcus to play your son Kip.
Yes.
What was the thought process there on switching from Corey Feldman to Kip?
I think Corey decided to go on to movies, and he was on movies at the time, and so we went into production. He was already signed for a couple other movies. So.
Okay.
Thanks anyways, Dad. But I hate those musicals where people start singing when they just want a sandwich.
I understand. Kip and I'll go.
Sorry, Dad. I already have tickets. I'm taking Lynn. Hey, she hasn't given me the money for her ticket yet.
I guess it's just you and me, Mom.
Oh, Beaver, I'd love to go, but I already have a date to go with Ray.
Oh. I better not find out you've got a date.
Oh, no, not me, Dad. Although Molly Sullivan has been giving me the eye in the cloakroom lately.
Oh, hi, Ollie.
Hi, Uncle Wally.
I
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Beaver.
Wally?
Wally, just the person to go see Grease with me.
Hey, that's exactly what Mary Ellen said to me. We're going on Thursday. Well, I guess I could pick up an extra ticket.
Hey, that'd be great.
Although who knows where you'd end up sitting.
Maybe I'll just go rent the video cassette.
Beaver, you don't have to stay home. You could get a date.
Mom, are we going to start that again? I'm a single father, and I'm starting my own business. I just don't have time for a relationship.
Hey, why don't you go out on a date first? Then worry about a relationship.
And I know the perfect girl, Mrs. Rapkin's daughter, Hazel. Her mother tells me she has a wonderful personality.
Mom, Hazel Rapkin's a fruitcake. She has several wonderful personalities. Get my own date for Grease. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hey, Mom. Does this say what I think it says?
My goodness.
Oh, Mr. Cleaver, I've got a workman putting a refrigerator in the office across the hall. Is there anything you need?
Oh, well, I'd like a refrigerator, too.
Fine. They're only about $700.
Bobby, wait a minute. Come to think of it, I don't really need... I've got this thermos, and, you know, it's a dandy. It keeps things real cold.
I've got one just like it. Keeps things pretty hot.
I wonder how they know which is which.
You are so funny. It's always nice to see you.
Do you remember this actress? This was when you were trying to date.
You know, this was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize is I probably only saw her for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
She came in maybe one day for a rehearsal, and then maybe the 1 day or 2 days that they would shoot, and then you never see them again.
I think the water cooler guy got her attention.
Yes.
Now, what were you wondering?
Oh. Well, next month, the first falls on a Sunday. Do you want the rent on Friday or Monday?
It doesn't matter. I'm easy. Bye.
Hey, Beef. Hey, Beef. Turn that frown upside down, little buddy. I got just the thing to cheer you up.
Lumpy come in. It was interesting, the dynamic, I guess the relationship between you and Lumpy was more like the relationship between Wally and Lumpy in the original show. You became business partners with him and hanging out with him. Was that fun to work with him in that kind of new dynamic?
You know, it was fun, but the thing was, I knew Frank Banks as Frank Bank, and so I'd always been good friends with him in the show, in the original show. You know, he was always torturing me, but he wasn't like that in real life, so I knew what Frank was like, and in fact, in the new show, he even tortured me a little bit, so, but he was just a really nice guy and was a very good friend of mine.
Violet Rutherford. I haven't been out with her since the prom. Boy, that was really some night.
Beaver is going out with Violet Rutherford? What she did to him at the prom?
But I always thought they liked each other.
And Mary Ellen Rogers' character in here was played by Janice Kent, and a lot of people ask how come they didn't get the original Mary Ellen Rogers, who, you know, was only on like 6 episodes, and I think there was a couple different actresses who played her on Leave It to Beaver, but was there an effort made to go back and get the original Mary Ellen Rogers actresses?
They went and they did put out ads in Variety and The Hollywood Reporter, which are magazines that come out every day to tell about all the new shows that are coming and all the gossip in the entertainment industry. They did
not gossip, they were hardcore business magazines.
Yes, very hardcore. But yes, they did put out things saying the Leave to Beaver was starting, and if you were in it, if you played a part, and you were still an actor and living in the Los Angeles area.
Right.
And they did get a few people.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Uncle Beaver.
At the end of the Still the Beaver movie, Wally and Mary Ellen were just having a baby. Mm-hmm. And you can barely hear it, but I think they called him Ward Jr. or something at the end.
He listens better than I do.
Yeah. But that's like literally the last few seconds of the movie. And then when they got to the Disney Channel's show, they didn't have Ward, and they had a much older daughter. Wally's daughter was Kalina Kiff. What was the thinking there? Do you remember?
Well, the people had always said there were girls too. Why why isn't there a girl in Leave It to Beaver?
Oh, okay.
So we decided this would be the perfect time to have it. So we had Wally, of course, who was the big athlete, have the daughter, and it was nice to have a little girl, and we could do a lot of things.
Do you have any memories of her in particular?
You know, they were all very, very nice.
People are a lot like dogs. They can tell when someone's afraid of them.
Are you ready? Oh, hi, Beaver.
I thought Janice Kent did a great job on the show. Did she get immediately brought in and feel like a part of the family, even though she wasn't on the original show?
Yeah, I hope she did. It's always hard because when you're on a show and you know different people, but they were very, very particular in who they chose for the kids and people that, in fact, the entire crew all were family people, and we were a show that you really wanted to work with because when you had kids on the show, you know, it makes it, you have to have people, you can't have any swearing, you can't have a lot of the things that may go on a different show.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll get it.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Violet and Letitia are in the car. You ready?
Oh, I'll get my purse.
All right.
How do I look, Clarence?
Too late to do anything about it now.
You look fine, Teddy. I couldn't wait.
So now Veronica Cartwright has re-entered, and here's Violet coming in and kissing you and hearkening back to when you were at Friends Lake, and she kissed you when you were a little boy. And was that fun or interesting to do as adult actors now?
Well, you know, it always is. It's always fun to be able to go back. It'd be like maybe you going to a class reunion or something. These were people that I had known all my life.
Right.
I hadn't seen in years and years and years, not because there was any reason not to, but we just, you know, I might see them at an event, but you know, there's a line that you pass through and you go to the event, and you know, I say hi to them, and they weren't the people that I didn't want to see, but it was just nice to be able to work with them and go out to lunch with them and have them be on the same show.
Yeah, yeah.
And where have you been, young man?
Yeah, we have school tomorrow. Do you expect us to wait up till all hours of the night?
I guess I lost track of the time.
Well, you could have called, you know. How'd it go?
Terrific.
Great.
Way to go, Dad.
See you tomorrow. Come on.
Good night, boys.
Good night.
Beaver, I didn't hear you come in.
Got my own key now, Mom.
Oh, well.
Working with Barbara Billingsley, you were a child the first time around, and then you were an adult the second time around. Was there a different, working relationship with your TV mother?
No, Barbara Billingsley was a really very nice person. She couldn't have been nicer, and people always say, well, did you think of her as your mother? No, I knew I was working with her and that she was, you know, just a very good friend. So maybe it'd be like your aunt or something like that. I knew she had kids of her own. She had sons, and she would go home to them. But, you know, she always had good advice, and a lot of times if you were having any trouble, like remembering a line or something, and, you know, she would always try to help you out in any way. And just a really lovely, as lovely as June Cleaver was, Barbara Billingsley was nicer.
That's great to say.
Wally, you were right. I'm worried about the beaver.
So I'm sorry, Mr. Baker, but I'm going to have to cancel your appointment this morning. Emergency?
You had Richard Deacon was Mr. Rutherford in the old show, and then fortunately stayed alive long enough to do the TV movie, but unfortunately passed.
Right after that.
Yeah.
Hi, Clarence. Any calls?
Yeah, Indiana Jones, he wants his suit back.
Was there an effort made to okay, now we have to bridge this storyline from the movie to the TV show, and so let's bring in another actor to play him, at least for a few episodes, and then we'll just not have his character be around anymore?
You know, I honestly wasn't in that realm at that time.
Yeah.
They would send me a script, and I'd look at it and it'd say this name or that name,
Yeah.
and after that it said who was going to play him.
Right.
So that's all I knew, that this person would be playing him that week.
Right, right.
I'm measuring for new draperies, of course.
What new draperies?
Oh, well, it's hardly my decision. It is your office. You make the choice. Executive Strike or Dusty Rose.
You know, Clarence, we're a young company, and image is very important. I think new draperies would be great.
You have such a level head on your shoulders, Teddy.
What was that like for you, seeing Veronica Cartwright? Had you seen her before redoing this?
Not really. I mean, I would see her. She worked a lot as an actress besides Leave It to Beaver, so, I'd see her, but it was like at movie premieres or different Emmy events or things that I would go to. But it wasn't like it wasn't like she lived down the street from me, so those instances were few and far between. And it was just nice to see all these people that I'd known for my whole life, and suddenly they were there, and we could reconnect, and they were all just as nice as they'd been when I was originally doing the show.
Yeah. Did you guys have to be reminded, because it was so long ago, like what the interaction was between you and Violet Rutherford back on Leave It to Beaver, that now you're reconnecting on Still the Beaver? Did you have to kind of go back, and did they show you those episodes or anything? Or?
No, I mean, we remembered it. It was something like if somebody said, in your history class, do you remember, this or that? Yeah,
shooting a
things like that, whatever.
Yeah.
So it was things, and we were all friends, so, it was things that we all knew what we were doing and where we'd been, and we kept up with each other. I mean, we didn't call each other every day or maybe even once a year, but we all saw each other at different events because they all went on and continued to act, and we went to premieres and all sorts of stuff like that. So we did see each other, and people would say, "Oh, do you know that so-and-so had a baby?" Or "Did you know that so-and-so did this or that?" So we pretty much kept track of each other.
Okay, all right.
Think he's asleep? Yeah, he's too old to be faking.
I hate to wake him. This is pretty important.
I know. I'll go home and call here and let it ring until he picks it up.
It won't work. I unplugged the phone.
Well, in that case, I'll go outside and ring the door. Oh, hey, Father. Did you have a nice nap? We didn't wake you, did we?
Don't worry. As people get older, they require less sleep.
You directed some of the episodes of Still the Beaver. I guess technically you directed the new Leave It to Beaver. But was there any of either iterations of that any of the episodes that you remember particularly fondly?
It was every day was a gift, because it'd be like if someone said, "How would you like to go back to your second or third grade and suddenly be the teacher of it?" So I got to go with all my friends who I'd known for probably 50 years, and suddenly, instead of having the director say do this and do that, it was my vision of how the show should be. And so I could say, okay, say this line that way, we're going to film it from here. And I had, and Tony also directed, we had a very good idea. We had seen the show so many times that we knew the fastest way to do it, because in television, a lot of it is speed. You have 1 week to do an episode. So if you can think of, oh yes, if they stand here, that'll take 2 extra shots because we've got to get this and this. But if you move it this way and the camera moves that way, you've already got that shot. So a lot of things like that were a lot easier. And Tony and I both directed, not a whole lot, but some of the episodes of the new Leave It to Beaver.
Behavior tonight. Dad will think we've cracked up or something.
Yeah. He would, wouldn't he? Come on, Ollie. Let's hurry up and get ready before Miss Rutherford arrives.
As you were shooting, was the set pretty close to the same? You said they went back and found all the diagrams and everything.
The house was absolutely perfectly put back together. Now, the outside house is from like the 30s, and it had been on the Universal backlot. In fact, when you go on the tour, people still see it, but there's been all sorts of people besides the Cleavers that have lived there. Hitchcock used it for a few things, and that probably was as lovely a group as the Beaver people when we were there. But it was just really fun, and we had a few of the original crew from the original Leave It to Beaver. Now they were like lighting directors instead of just being maybe a lighting person.
I'm so sorry we weren't here to greet you, Miss Rutherford.
What a lovely outfit. Didn't I see it in Vogue magazine?
Why, Teddy, what lovely manners your boys have after all. Quite the change from the restaurant the other day when they had straws in their noses.
I know Ted Turner ordered X amount of episodes, a record number of episodes of the new Leave It to Beaver.
It was the biggest episode. It was the biggest order in television history, because usually even shows like Leave It to Beaver, they don't order a whole lot because they want to see, of course, how it airs. And he just said no. There were other groups that were interested in getting it, but he said, this is the way to do it. I'll just take, you know, a whole bunch of episodes. And so it was very nice. That way you have a lot more stability, and that you know that you're going to be working for a certain amount of time, and they can do a lot more stuff with the sets and the clothing and all the different things. And the writers can know that, you know, they just don't have to come up with 3 or 4 shows. They may have to come up with, well, 234 episodes or whatever it is.
Right, right. And at one point you had to go down to Florida, or I don't know if you had to, or you chose to, or that was the Universal's decision or whatever, but essentially you were kind of pioneering in that as well. You were launching their TV studio production down there. How was that for the cast to relocate all the way across the country?
Well, you know, as an actor, you do that a lot, especially if you do movies. I mean, I worked with Hitchcock, and we went to Stowe, Vermont, and that was on a lot of movies that filmed in different places. But you know, it's hard when you have a family. I had kids at the time, and Tony had kids, and you know, you suddenly have to pick up and go to a new place and work, and it makes it more difficult. You're living in basically, they rented us houses, but they were very small houses. They're more like, you know, 2-bedroom houses. But it was fun, but I was very glad to be back.
That does seem like an interesting choice. But I think the boys have their hearts set on Shadow Lake.
But I want to see where Uncle Remus lives.
We're not going to any author's homes. We're going to Shadow Lake.
Teddy, the boys and I agree. You'll see it'll be wonderful. You know, I understand that they have just completely restored William Faulkner's mother's sewing room.
Oh, wow.
Violet, may I speak to you alone?
Still the Beaver, not as well known as Leave It to Beaver, because it was on 4 seasons and then had a few years of reruns, but then it really hasn't been seen much in the last 25 years.
Well, there's a good reason why it hasn't been seen much. It was a joint effort by MCA Universal and Ted Turner. It started as the movie of the week. It was one of the top, I think it was 3 movies of the week. And then we went on to do all these episodes, and we spent a lot of time doing it. It was a very, very good show. And then they lost it. Ted Turner says Universal has it. Universal says Ted Turner has it. So no one could ever find it. So it only showed basically one time, and a few of them showed in reruns over the summer, but it only showed for pretty much 1 season.
Wow.
When I feel I can trust you.
Don't get aggressive with me, Violet Rutherford.
I'm sick of you telling me where I can go, what I should eat, what I should wear.
Oh, don't exaggerate. I'd never have you wear those shoes with that outfit.
Why did you ever go out with me if I didn't measure up to your standards?
It's a good question. But I see so much potential in you. I mean, if you don't appreciate my helpful suggestions, why do you go out with me?
Well, I guess it's because you're so convenient. Well, I mean, I wanted a date, and I was a little shy in that department. All of a sudden, you moved back in, and I had a built-in relationship.
Is that what I am? Convenient? A built-in relationship? Nothing more than a Friday night TV dinner?
Don't get huffy. I know why you came back. And you've been using me as much as I've been using you.
More.
You know, after you moved away, I often wondered what it'd be like to see you again. How we'd feel about one another.
It was nice. For a while.
Yes, it was.
Thank your mother for dinner.
I will.
Goodbye, Teddy.
It's too bad we're just not cut out for one another.
What was it like going back to where you had worked as a kid and going back and shooting again?
Well, people don't realize how temporal a movie set is, because a movie set, that there is a house on the back lot of Universal, but that's been there since the 30s, so there's been all sorts of different people that lived there, but the set itself has basically all held up by big steel rods, and so they can move the walls around so they can do all the different shots. And it was really amazing to come back, and they went and got the original blueprints and redid the house. So it was something I never thought I would see again. I had left it in the early 60s, figuring, well, this is it. You know, we started in 57. Well, we filmed for 6 years, and then I went off, and suddenly I came back, and they had not only a lot of the same furniture and little knickknacks, because they had all been props, we even managed to get a few of them that were left, because it had been quite a few years, of the lighting people and camera people. So it was people that had actually worked on the original show.
Interesting. And, you know, when you mentioned getting the props and kind of recreating the house, that's going on right now on HGTV with the Brady Bunch house.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've been seeing that. Is there any hope or desire on yours or anybody else's part to recreate not only the house, but maybe even do a new Leave It to Beaver with Beaver as the grandfather now?
Well, it's always a possibility, and it's fun. It's something I'm very proud of. And so, it's nothing I would say I'll never do it again, because I'd be very happy to. All the people on the show were very, very nice, and we're all good friends. And, if somebody would like to do that, that would be a wonderful thing. I mean, I think the big thing is that we'd want them to stick kind of to the same kind of format of a television show that a whole family can sit down and watch for a half hour, and the parents have maybe one view of it and the kids have another, but it's something the whole family can enjoy.
Very good, Jerry. I think that went pretty well, and it was sure fun. We'll have to do more of these soon.